Hello, I'm Davia Chambers and this is Let's Talk Tobago. Today we're at Radical Sports Shop in Pigeon Point, a shop situated just on the beach. This place has been in existence for just about 15 years, but it was bought by Brett Kenny 4.5 years ago. Brett is a lover of the seas and all things adventurous, so it's not surprising that his childhood passion is now the means by which he earns a living. Although Brett says it's not a huge money earner selling or renting beach equipment, he finds it fulfilling because he gets to do what he loves and it's a chance to give something back to Tobago. There's a lot to learn about beach equipment and water sports here, but first let's tell you what's happening in our stories this week. Turning waste into energy. Tobago just might be the first Caribbean country to be rid of landfills. What to expect from Scarborough's new library, and exploring the true meaning of independence using a dramatic presentation. Welcome back to Let's Talk Tobago. Thanks for joining us at Radical Sports Shop in Pigeon Point. Here you have access to equipment for surfboarding, windsurfing, stand-up paddling, kiteboarding, kayaking, diving, skateboarding, you name it. Here's a wide collection of windsurfing boards. It's now up to you to select the right one based on your height and your weight. But if you're not an expert on this, Brett is usually here to advise you. And don't worry, if you're new to water sports, he'll give you training before entering the water. This means you don't have to be an avid swimmer before you try out some of these sports. But let's leave it here for now to deal with a project that could change the way Tobago deals with its waste. Landfills are the easiest and cheapest solution to getting rid of garbage, but they're also a threat to our health and the environment. So, a plan is in train to eliminate all landfills and go green. The wheels of that plan have already started turning, beginning with an agreement for a Canadian company, Fourth State Energy Incorporated, to conduct a pre-feasibility study. That study will seek to answer the why and how this island can turn its waste into energy. More from Kishon Wilson.
As a tourist destination, Tobago is very aware of the environmental hazards of landfills. That's why one of the main objectives of the Tobago House of Assembly's Comprehensive Economic Development Plan 2.0 is to ensure this island remains clean, green, safe and serene. Having a landfill deviates from this, so Tobago wants to go the route of first world countries in creating a world without waste. In other words, Tobago wants to be landfill free. This project, once viable, will make Tobago the first in the Caribbean region to have a plant of this kind.
The feasibility study would really tell us how much waste we produce, what is the characteristic of the waste, how much energy we would get from those wastes. If we are to establish a waste-to-energy plant, what is the best location for the establishment of such a plant, and whether the whole project is viable. So that feasibility study is going to inform the THA whether this project is a viable project and is a worthy project.
With the approval of the feasibility project, a site will be selected for the energy plant. And with that energy plant comes a boost for our economy.
It would be a significant amount of money back into the economy. I can tell you that I would expect that there would be 40 to 60 full-time jobs. And those jobs would be anything from people sorting the waste to engineers running the plant. So there's a scale of employment there. So it's not just low wage jobs, it's also very high wage jobs.
But according to Mr. Mader, the greatest advantage of having this waste disposable project is having renewable electricity.
Environmentally and health-wise, what does that waste mean? Whereas if you take it to our plant, wherever that may be, and you solarize the waste and turn it into clean, green electricity, there's no smell, no birds, no fires.
The feasibility study costs around $600,000, and is expected to last around 3 months. At the end of that period, a feasibility report will be handed into the THA, which will decide on the way forward. I'm Keyshawn Wilson for Let's Talk Tobago.
When you leave home for work, it may never occur to you that you may be electrocuted, or for that matter, get injured on the job. Truth is, these things sometimes happen right in the workplace, and before you know it, you're trying to figure out how to pay a huge hospital bill. But what's your employer's responsibility if you're injured on the job through no fault of your own? Let's join Omadara Mills to find out about the importance of occupational health and safety, especially in small businesses, and why you don't need to compromise these standards in the name of the bottom line.
This is 42-year-old Richard Gopi. He's gone through years of physical, emotional, and psychological recovery just to be able to feed himself. He was forced to retire when he was 25 years old after he suffered and survived a 66,000-volt electrocution accident while on the job.
All I knew is that I was being hit with electricity. I could not let go of the wire. It was just for a brief moment. I saw a big ball. You all saw the ball of fire that came out from the linesman's hand. I saw it coming out from my hand right here. And I went unconscious. The next thing I knew, when I regained consciousness, I felt as though I was on fire, even though I was not, but I was severely burnt.
Mr. Gopi's story is an example of what happens in the workplace when there's an absence of good health and safety standards. His accident cost the utility company he was working for over $280,000 in compensatory and medical costs. And it's part of the reason why the OSH Authority facilitated a symposium entitled Safety and Health in Manufacturing Leads to Profits and Sustainability to educate small businesses in Tobago about the benefits of following the right procedures all the time.
Documented evidence has consistently shown that the safer and healthier workplaces result in greater job satisfaction and stronger bottom line results.
Additionally, operating costs decrease, employees will know what to do when faced with occupational hazards, and people will be able to live longer, healthier lives. And with these benefits, small manufacturing businesses as well as various departments in the Tobago House of Assembly are seeing how they can maintain proper safety and health practices without compromising their bottom line or the employees' health and safety.
Most small businesses believe that you don't need to implement certain standards because sometimes it's you and you alone or it's you and somebody else. But what happens is that if you implement certain measures, it helps with decreasing time, it helps in wastage, it helps in keeping yourself safe.
This symposium is the first stage in the OSH Authority's Health and Safety Leading to Profitability Sensitization Program for small businesses in the country. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Tourism is vital to this island's economy, but during the global economic crisis, this sector was badly hit. Today, it's slowly recovering, and that's thanks in part to a number of incentives that are available to the players in the industry. But as programs go, they're ineffective if the people they're designed to help are unable to access them for one reason or the other. And that's exactly what's happening with the Loan Guarantee Fund. 2 years after its creation, over 70 hotels and tourism-associated businesses have not benefited. But that's about to change, and here's why.
This island wants to become a world-class destination, one that attracts tourists from all over the globe. But before Tobago gets there, businesses in the private sector must become financially profitable. This way, they're in better standing, which improves their chances of getting loans that they can use to develop their product and become sustainable. Not everyone is there yet, so the divisions of tourism and transportation and finance and enterprise development are stepping in. They're giving the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association and the Tobago arm of the Chamber of Commerce some monetary assistance that will help these two associations execute programs aimed at improving Tobago's tourism product.
The program has been launched to the private sector, and everybody is able to participate once they do 60% or more of their business is related to the tourism sector. And from that, the program really at this stage is a kind of hand-holding process, because we found that many of the persons are not able to draw on the government loan guarantee because they are not becoming what we call bankable standards.
Therefore, with this program, businesses will be able to acquire various skills to ensure they become bankable.
So we have on board, for instance, somebody who writes business plans. There's an interview committee that comes to your business place, that sits and goes through with you where you are at now, where you want to be.
But another aspect of becoming a much talked about tourist destination has to do with customer service. The Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association will use their funds to improve the talents of those involved in the tourism industry.
A number of our members have applied and are going through this process. So we want to take a lead. We are pushing our members to take full advantage of this situation. We will, of course, improve as we go along, because we can keep adding things to this process. Well, we've already spoken to the Secretary about having a full-time course, because these things don't stand still.
The Tobago House of Assembly contributed close to $500,000 to this program. I'm Keishon Wilson for Let's Talk Tobago.
We're taking a break, but stay with us for details of a program that prepares our young people for the world of work. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago. Today we're at Radical Sports in Pigeon Point. Right now we're looking at the sails that attach to the windsurfing board, which is usually about 3 meters in length. Brett tells us that the Europeans and Americans enjoy this sport, and the boards are pre-booked just to ensure that they have use of the equipment when they arrive. But away from all the fun that the sand and the sea offer, there's the serious business of job hunting. The market is extremely competitive. Each year, the bar is raised higher for the unemployed. Young Tobagonians therefore need to find ways to prepare for the world of work. They need tips to get them noticed, get them past the interview stage and into the job. But how is any of this possible if they're never given the experience? Well, there's something that's close enough to the real deal. Omadara Mills explains.
This is 14-year-old Tamika Kwashi Williams doing a mock interview, which is part of the World of Work program. Although Tamika is still in secondary school, she says that she sees this program as one which will help her achieve her goal of becoming a nurse.
Because it helped me when I'm ready to come out of school, it gave me an advance.
Another one of the 60 participants is 19-year-old Shaquille McCletchy, who's just out of secondary school. He shares some of what he learned.
Well, the most important lesson for me is how to attire yourself when you're going to a job interview or on the workplace itself, and your communicative behaviors in the workplace.
Other areas which the young people learnt about are career planning, goal setting, interview skills, time management, cover letter and resume writing. But the workshop does not end there. The Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport is ensuring that participants get to experience an actual work environment.
We have been able to partner with some public and private sector entities to have a 3-day program in the workplace. So coming out of this in the next week or two, we will be placing them in a number of private and public sector entities where they actually get to exercise and to utilize the skills that they would have learned in the workplace itself. So that's real.
During this year's workshop, the participants were able to interact with past participants of the program and get a better idea of the ways in which the program has benefited those who've gone before. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Still with the education theme, many say that bricks and mortar libraries aren't needed in the digital age. And while there are those who now rely heavily on their tablets and other handheld devices, there are still some who enjoy the actual feel of turning pages. For them, libraries are irreplaceable. And though Google and others have experimented with the idea of a digital library, the variety currently available does not match what can be found in our good old-fashioned libraries. Tobago understands these two positions. That's why the new library will offer the traditional services, but will also roll out new programs that incorporate technology. And as Anika Thomas tells us, there'll be something for everyone.
Soon, Tobago would have a modern facility where students can do research and broaden their knowledge by simply reading books. While the Scarborough Library facility looks like this now, in a few weeks' time, when these doors open, this would be the island's go-to place for students and the general public at large. That's because the new library plans to offer many new services.
A new aspect of the children's library would be the tiny touch section, so parents can come in with their young children and sit and read stories to them. On the ground floor also we have the visually impaired room where persons who are the VIPs, we call them, the visually impaired persons, can come in and use computers where they're able to, once they type, the software allows them to hear what is being said so they can keep in touch with what is happening on a daily basis.
But young adults and grown-ups also have something to look forward to at the new facility. There's even a room designated for the reading of periodicals only, overlooking the capital.
On the first floor we have the adult library where we're doing research skills for the adults. We also be doing computer literacy. We're having writers' workshops. For the young adults, there's a multimedia section where they can express themselves.
Also on the list of new services is a special section for books on the subject of West Indian heritage. Ms. Johnson says more outreach programs will be rolled out once the facility begins functioning. Her hope is that Tobago returns to the days when the library was the place to be in Scarborough. The new hours will be Mondays to Fridays 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm Anika Thomas for Let's Talk Tobago.
Now, none of this would matter if the library failed to attract the kind of staff that's needed to make your experience a good one. But this could get difficult because not many people pursue careers in librarianship and information science. Sure, there are many reasons for this. Among them, the misconception of what librarians do. And just to set the record straight, they aren't book stackers. In fact, you don't have to take our word for it. Let's hear from a human resource professional who worked with Tobagonians, informing them about the role and function of librarians. Cassandra picks up that story.
With the opening of the new Scarborough Main Library drawing near, the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport wants to ensure that Tobagonians are fully aware of the roles and functions of the library and the career opportunities involved. They're implementing this plan by inviting people from the Youths Energized for Success or the YES program, as well as the World of Work program to this presentation.
Youth Energized for Success program is engaging young persons in Tobago who aren't currently employed but who have qualifications. All right, this is an avenue. I think it's an exciting opportunity for them. So we have brought them here along with NALIS personnel to interest them in library careers.
The Human Resource Coordinator says that the library will need information assistance, and they're looking for persons who are competent and qualified in this area.
We want people with research skills, people with study skills, organizational skills, and we are looking for customer-focused people who would be helpful and who would be energetic.
The library plays a significant role in nation building. It provides learning opportunities for special needs persons, the elderly, children, and young adults. But what do the participants think?
It's interesting. I never thought about it, honestly. I never thought about going to school to study to be a librarian. But it's something that maybe I could do. I could see myself doing.
I got a whole new view of what they do, because sometimes, you think as a library as being a boring place. There's not much that you could do besides research and stuff, but I've learned more activities that they take part in.
The division hopes that when the new library opens, they will have a team of young professionals who are able to engage the public and keep them coming back. I'm Cassandra for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's time to take another break, but stay with us as we explore independence through a dramatic presentation and film. Welcome back to Let's Talk Tobago. Thanks for staying with us at Radical Sports in Pigeon Point, a place to learn to do water sports with a trainer who's very passionate about the sport and the safety of his students. Radical Sports is the only place in Tobago where you can get wind, kite surfing and stand-up paddle equipment. But the owner of this place wants to do more. Brett Kenny intends to build a camp for teaching Tobagonian children water sports. If he gets his way, this will happen very soon. But there are those who believe that sport keeps you young, and perhaps this is a notion some in our next story subscribe to, which explains why they've defied even the United Nations projections. Worldwide, the average life expectancy at birth is just about 70 years old. But in Tobago, many live to 80, 90, and sometimes even 100 years. And as they age, this island wants to ensure they're treated as an essential part of our social and historical landscape.
Harvey Moore of Charlottesville, Mercy Moore of Palatuvier, and Theodora Hackett of Buku are just 3 of the 8 centenarians living on the island currently, and they are part of the Centenarians Awards and Awareness Program, CAP, which started off as part of the 2013 Tobago Heritage Festival.
The reason that we would have launched that program is because the program coming out of Heritage would have been celebrating yesterday's children. And of course, yesterday's children is now today's treasure because they would have grown, they would have, given us their experiences, so they have now become our children.
But the program continues beyond the last year's heritage period, since there's been the creation of the 90s Club by the Division of Community Development and Culture.
We look for persons from 90 to 100, and then, we try to celebrate the birthday with them every year. We go to their homes, we interview them, we interact with them. Sometimes we take hampers for them.
And the division is also part of the big 100 birthday celebration.
So once they would have attained the age of 100, of course, we know that's a milestone in which most of them, the family, will do a big celebration. And this is where the division comes in. Whatever assistance we could give, whatever the family needs, we would assist.
The division hopes to continue celebrating Tobagonians, senior citizens, and tap into their experiences and insights which can make this island a better place for the upcoming generations. I'm Umadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
And speaking of aging, our nation will celebrate its 52nd year of independence on August 31st. To mark this achievement, the New Dimension Theatre Arts Company in Tobago decided to do things a bit differently. They chose to utilize various forms of the performing arts to put together a historical piece titled, "This is the Independence Story." Here are snippets from that show. We'll always live on, follow and listen on, our nation is born. We gon' follow our leaders, they always do their best. But if we want to achieve, we're going to aspire, we're bound to be a success.
The New Dimension Performing Arts Company celebrating Trinidad and Tobago's independence. They joined in song, dance, and drama to recapture this country's independence story.
We just decided to do a little brainstorming, and we came up with the idea of doing something for independence. Simply because music, and in fact, much of the literature having to do with independence, gives the opportunity for dramatic presentation.
Mr. Titus says that the group wanted to encapsulate Trinidad and Tobago's journey to independence.
We decided we're going to start from when there was an attempt at integration with the Federation, what became of that Federation, why it failed, the reaction of the other islands.
Mr. Titus says that this was important because people seem to forget the significance of independence.
Today, we look at independence, and what people think about is dress up, red, white, and black. It's the parade, it's the fireworks. I'm talking about in particular in Tobago. And that consciousness, the awareness and the level of consciousness is not there. So we going back into the true meaning of independence.
He hopes that people will understand that independence is more than the festivities, that they will take the time to reflect on what independence meant for Trinidad and Tobago then and what it should mean now. I'm Kissam Brathwaite for Let's Talk Tobago.
And there are other organizations that are deviating from the usual formula and are putting their own spin on our independence celebrations. The Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival chose, well, film, a project that will run in both islands. And as Omadara Mills tells us, the organizers are hoping it will contribute to our understanding of how far this nation has come.
Military parades and fireworks. Those are some of the things you usually associate with Trinidad and Tobago's independence. Not a revolution, but while there was no overthrow of this country's established government or political system in 1962, 8 years later there was unrest under the rise of the Black Power movement, a story retold in the 2-hour documentary 70, Remembering a Revolution by Alex DeVertile and Elizabeth K.D. Stop.
They went and they spoke to a variety of people who were involved in the revolution, or the uprising as some might say, and really get their take. So to let these people who were involved tell their own story.
But before the feature film, there'll be another documentary short by filmmaker Kim Johnson on the evolution of our national instrument, the steel pan.
It looks at the formation of the sort of like music genre. It looks at the early stages of the industry and some of the key players.
But on the surface of things, none of this explains the topic being introduced at the beginning, Trinidad and Tobago's independence and its relation to these films. But the TTFF Director of Community Development says there's a thread that weaves it all together.
It's a good way of archiving not just the events, but also the impact that it had at the society at the time, and then you can then go back in hindsight and reevaluate, what happened at that time, and then how we could also try to avoid some of the mistakes from those times.
Just like the parades and fireworks in Scarborough, patrons will view the movies free of charge at Movietown. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
And it's time to have your say, the segment of our program where we hear from you, our viewers. Now, when Trinidad and Tobago lowered the Union Jack and ceased being a British colony, our country created its own symbols of nationhood. And since 1962, there have been many milestones along the way. But these things mean different things to different people. So as we approach our 52nd anniversary, today we're asking, what does independence mean to you? This is what you said.
Independence as an individual is when one could exercise his or her franchise.
Independence means a big freedom. You understand? You're independent in your own way, in your own rights. You understand? You're independent to education, to health, to everything.
Independence now is the country seeing about itself, the people making sure everything in order.
Independence means doing something to help yourself and helping others. Not just waiting to say, well, the Prime Minister will do so much and the government have to do so much. We have to get by, get off of our butts, help ourselves, build our community, just to make our country a better place.
And that's how we bring this week's edition of Let's Talk Tobago to a close. Remember, you can send us your comments or queries on anything you've seen in this program to information@tha.gov.tt or visit us at www.tha.gov.tt. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Davia Chambers, and on behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, have a safe and enjoyable week. And as we go, let's leave you with some final images of Radical Sports Shop and, of course, a little bit of Pigeon Point.